Hey guys, what's going on? It's Eli, back with another review video. And I know, yes, you read the title, and I'm pretty sure a good majority of you are probably wondering, Eli, what the heck is this? I've never heard of this. Well, you're not alone, because I really didn't know anything about this fully. I feel like I probably may have seen a few stilled images, maybe even the poster alone, but no. Never did I see this, nor watched it, know really anything about what this is like, and the fact that, because this is something that came from Belgium, it was animated in Belgium, and then with it, apparently, because it was, always intended to be for the U.S., American release and such, an animated American released film from Universal. Yeah. It's definitely one of these films where you feel like it's a Mandela effect and such. And I know best said by Walter from Channel Awesome, him covering this for a part of his Juniversal. Yeah, and it's definitely thanks to him that, I knew about this more, and, I took a look at it, and it was kind of like a last-minute thing for me to review this, and, well, you're watching it, so yeah. And if any of you, even before me, knew anything about this, yeah, please feel free to let me know. So, yes, guys, that's right. Yeah, and seeing as how that, it is celebrating its anniversary, because, yep, from 1965, I'm reviewing Pinocchio in outer space. Yeah, like I said, doesn't it definitely feel like a Mandela effect where, it doesn't feel real, like this shouldn't be, it feels like that this wouldn't exist, but yet it does. Just, yeah, I mean, this isn't the first time something like this, you would encounter, be like, what? Because, trust me, there's been some other weird things that I can think of. Actually, two that I can think of that, that are Christmassy and have to do with Santa Claus. Like, Santa Claus conquers the Martians, or Santa Claus and the Ice Cream Bunny. Just, need I go on? Just, yeah. Those being examples, where they feel like they wouldn't exist, but they do. So, yeah. Or, I don't know, would Grandma gets run over by reindeer count, kind of? I don't know. But, yeah, so, Pinocchio in outer space. Well, again, now that I finally have taken a look at it, watched it, and besides, the fact that it's not really a long animated movie, like, what, 71 minutes? Yeah, because the official running time being 1 hour and 11 minutes. By the way, because I watched it on YouTube, you can easily find it on YouTube like that, so yeah. With what Pinocchio in outer space had to offer, with its storyline, and it does take place after the events of the Pinocchio story we know so well, where he would first come to life as a wooden puppet, and the hopes of him becoming a real boy, and what he would encounter from, say, the Fox and the Cat, to, say, Stromboli, then Pleasure Island. Yeah, all of that happening, before this, and yeah. This technically, I guess, acting like a sequel, and this isn't the first, piece of Pinocchio material that acts as, a sequel to the main story of Pinocchio, because, yeah. Now, I reviewed this. Another piece of Pinocchio material that I reviewed was the Filmation Pinocchio movie. You know which one I'm talking about, where that does try to act like a sequel. I mean, I think presumably, yeah, to the Disney version, but, yeah, of course not. Not to say there's really anything bad about Pinocchio in outer space, with the exception of it being odd, strange. Even when say, I shared this with my dad, he found it very strange, too, because, yeah, didn't hear about this until now, when I mentioned it to him, just, and, because, with this animation quality, well, I mean, because always loving that animation quality from the 60s, right? And the songs in Pinocchio in Outer Space, they're not bad or anything. And with what goes on, again, just with the storyline / plot of this, what goes on with Pinocchio, he makes his way into outer space and encountering another monstro wannabe, you know, another whale who happens to be a flying whale in space, and that whale in space is trouble and such, and Pinocchio having encounter and teaming up with a Jiminy Cricket wannabe, which being a space turtle. Yeah, just, you know, overall, it's really weird, interesting, but at the same time, there's really nothing bad about it. It's delightful, charming, and, you know, it may not be the best, but still, you know, not to say it's god-awful. Okay. Alright, so, as always, for me, read the description / the story. Pinocchio must prove himself as a real boy when he takes off to Mars with Nurtle in the capture of Astro, a flying killer space whale. Yeah, as I mentioned, so yeah. Yeah, and, you know, because, like, Astro almost sharing the same name as Monstro, you just take out, like, you know, some of the letters, and you get the point. Alright, so with reading the description / the story out of the way now, and before I get into the film itself, a little bit of background, because, yeah, very short, because, well, the late Fred Ladd, if any of you are familiar with him, he was responsible in the realm of animation for bringing some Japanese animations to presenting them and showing them to U.S. audiences and with English dubs, like most notably pre-Lion King, Kimba the White Lion. It's true, coincidentally, but yeah. Well, Fred Ladd, collaborating with the late Norm Prescott, who actually would be the creator / founder of Filmation, and, well, as I mentioned, Filmation doing their own piece of Pinocchio material. But, of course, Filmation, we would know them best for, like, say, He-Man, Fat Albert, The Adventures of Superman, the Justice League animated show, and the Star Trek animated series. Need I go on? Just, yeah. And I'm sure, yeah, there's a lot of you Filmation, if I'm saying that right, yeah, you fans out there. Anyways, so, yeah, so them responsible for doing, like, the screenplay and so on, and this being directed by Ryan Gossens, yeah, and, yeah, with, like, its voice cast it has, and, like I said, this started off being animated in Belgium, but then around, yeah, 1965, Universal acquired the rights, and for it being a part of the Universal family, and of course, yeah, Universal responsible for, you know, releasing it for all of us to see. So, yeah. Yeah, and so, okay, so that's pretty much the background I've got for this, but yeah. But getting into the film itself now, actually, because, the thing is that when watching this on YouTube, well, because it doesn't feature one thing, and that being a 6-minute opening, you know, sequence where we actually get, like, actual shots of, like, rockets and, you know, planets in space, and the talk of, you know, the possibility of life being out in the galaxy, and the narrator for this, yeah, the prologue narrator being Norman Rose, and it's only featured on the DVD, and I know that Walter put it best in his Universal cover of this, but yeah. But point being is that the opening prologue and so on, you know, because when watching it on YouTube, me watching it on YouTube, not added, just, I don't know why, but yeah. But yeah, so one of the first characters we get is the Blue Fairy, and the Blue Fairy, who lives in space with her mother, which being, yeah, the Blue Fairy's mother, and the Blue Fairy being voiced by Mavis Mims, and the Blue Fairy's mother being voiced by Minerva Pios, if I'm getting the last name right. Yeah, the entire voice cast for this, yeah, because not really familiar with them that much, but, you know, Arnold Stan, well, until I get to Arnold Stan momentarily, but just, yeah, the Blue Fairy talking to her mother about, like, say, Pinocchio, and having, at one point, been turned into a real boy. But, apparently in this, after Pinocchio was turned into a real boy, he went back to his mischievous ways, causing trouble, and, even, like, say, being harsh to his father's dog, Fedora. Yeah, that's literally the dog's name, Fedora. Yeah, and so basically, we get no Figaro, no Cleo in this. Instead, we get a dog. Not that I'm complaining, I'm just saying, the same goes for Filmation's Pinocchio film, anyways. And because of this, with Pinocchio going back to his mischievous ways as a real boy, well, he got turned back into a puppet. And by the way, because the designs and looks for the characters in this, they're not that bad, but Pinocchio, there's not that much to him. The only way you can tell that, yeah, he's back as a wooden puppet is, his nose, that's pretty much all there is. I mean, and his legs as well, like, from his nose and legs, that's all we get of, him as a wooden puppet, but yeah. And, Pinocchio trying to find a way for redemption, and the fact that he has to do some school, and in the hopes of coming back as a real boy. And, a moment between Pinocchio and his father, Geppetto, and Pinocchio being voiced by the young Peter Lazar, I think I'm saying that right, and Geppetto being voiced by Ray Owens. Geppetto brought back this piece of wood, which is actually specifically for his dog, Fedora. And, some of the talk that Geppetto and Pinocchio have, and, of course, the mentionings of Pinocchio hoping to be a real boy again. But then at one point on the news, because they have a TV, well, it's reported from the newscaster being voiced by Kevin Kennedy, about this new satellite, this probe and such, this satellite, I should say, yeah, that's being launched into space. It's new, but it gets destroyed by Astro. Yep, this space whale that just came out of nowhere, and there's no way for anybody to stop this whale. But for the one person that can try to take down Astro, there is a reward money, for the defeat and takedown of Astro. And this gives Pinocchio an idea that, maybe he can take down Astro because, maybe this can really get him back as a real boy, and also to get some money, because they really don't have that much money, so, yeah. But Geppetto's not really sure and has his boy come back down to earth and such, just, yeah. And also telling him to keep studying, and doing school and such. And the fact, because, yeah, Pinocchio's learning all about space stuff, yeah. And Pinocchio, later in the evening, just wishing and hoping that maybe this can happen, he can succeed and make his father proud by doing something like this. And then the next day, by the way, because I literally was saying this to myself when watching this, Geppetto's cottage looks almost identical to the cottage in Sleeping Beauty, out in the woods. If you think about it, and if you've seen the cottage in this, yeah, compare it with the one in Sleeping Beauty. Disney's Sleeping Beauty, that is, duh. Yeah, so Pinocchio's going to be making his way to school. Fedora wants to follow Pinocchio, but, yeah, Fedora has to stay home. And, Pinocchio promises to his father that he will go straight to school. Nothing will get in his way. And by the way, because let's go ahead and talk about the songs, because, like I said, the songs are okay, because, like the opening credits song that we get, that, well, I presume is sung by the Blue Fairy, because, about Geppetto's toy shop, and, yeah, the little toy shop, as it's called, and, the singer, singing and describing all these puppets and toys in Geppetto's shop and what they're doing. And also, there's, Doing the Impossible, Goody Good Morning, yeah, and also a Tom Plant 3, yeah, just, again, they're not bad songs, but I'm pretty sure that, yeah, they would be forgettable, so, yeah. Anyways, so, Yeah, and after Pinocchio's song number, well, at one point, we see our Honest John / Gideon in this. We have, we have, D. Carmine Sharp, yeah, I think I got that right, which being the fox, being voiced by Conrad Jameson, and Groovy, the cat, and literally, because, Groovy, man, and Groovy being voiced by Jess Kane, because them spotting Pinocchio, and of course, they're up to their mischievous ways, and by, convincing and having Pinocchio buy this book where Pinocchio could learn about hypnotism, and this gives Pinocchio an idea that maybe with learning how to do hypnotism, he can do this on Astro, and maybe possibly that could work. But of course, Pinocchio being blind by what the fox and the cat are doing, and after their song number, and then at one point, well, because Pinocchio thinks that, and he tries to do hypnotism with the book, like doing it, like, say, on a deer and some ducks, like on a deer, like, you are a penguin, or to the ducks, you are statues, and he thinks that it worked on the ducks, because one duck is very still, but it turned out to be a fake duck, because the hunter, having seen what's happened, and Pinocchio scaring off the ducks, because the duck hunter was about to kill those ducks, so, but then after that, Pinocchio at one point thinks that Astro is coming straight towards him, because we see a shadow that makes the shape and form of Astro, and it's chasing after Pinocchio, but it turns out to be not Astro, it's a spaceship, and whom has arrived on Earth is a space turtle from Turtle D, that's the name of the planet, being Nurtle the Turtle, being voiced by Arnold Stang, yes, and Arnold Stang, because he most notably would be best known for, say, It's a Mad, Mad, Mad World, and one or two others, but so Nurtle the Turtle, whom at first I thought he looked like a parrot, if you think about it, because his mouth almost like resembles the beak of a parrot. Oh yeah, and also, because, having been in It's a Mad, Mad World, because he had also been in, say, the original Dennis the Menace, Hercules in New York, and The Man with the Golden Arm, the movie that starred Frank Sinatra, but most notably being known for being in It's a Mad, 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 Mad World, try and say that 10 times fast with the 4 mads in the title. Okay, anyways, but so Nurtle the Turtle, why he's present on Earth? Well, he thought this was Mars, because apparently he's supposed to investigate something that comes from Mars, activity of atomics, atomic activities, but he landed on the wrong planet, which, of course, being Earth, and, the interactions, between Pinocchio and Nurtle the Turtle, go pretty well, and this gives Pinocchio the opportunity to tag along with Nurtle to Mars, and maybe Pinocchio will find his way to find and get to Astro. And a moment where Pinocchio, sees angel and devil versions of himself, and then he starts seeing visions of the fox and Geppetto, because either he's going to do the right thing or the wrong thing, and eventually, he does do the wrong thing, which going with Nurtle, which, he should have gone to school, but so he tags along with Nurtle, and then making their way to outer space, and the more interactions they have, and also, Pinocchio sharing with Nurtle that, with his nose growing, well, because he's telling lies, and also Pinocchio, experiencing gravity and stuff that he so far sees in space, and eventually when they would make their way to Mars, and because by making their way to Mars, and also there are a good chunk of times where Nurtle, I should say, is kind of a doubter towards Pinocchio, because I don't know, because with the mentionings of Astro, and with Astro being nearby or something, and also a mentioning of the Blue Fairies, and because with them on Mars, and luckily for Pinocchio, he can he's all right being in space without, like, being, say, in a spacesuit, because, well, he's a puppet. He's a wooden puppet. But for Nerdle, yeah, he has to wear a space helmet. So them roaming around some of Mars and noticing some things on Mars like cactuses, and there's sand and such. And even when, like, say, at one point, they locate this city, and the mentioning of Martians, that, yeah, Martians could be present on Mars. But, like, say, at one point, we get an intense scene where these giant sand crabs come out of nowhere. There's two of them, and one of them, like, attacking their ship because the ship goes missing, and yeah, because one of the sand crabs was almost going to destroy it. And when they noticed the two characters, and I mean, eventually they managed to get away from the sand crabs, and then making their way further into the city, and by the looks of the city, it's been deserted. It's been kind of destroyed, yeah. And Pinocchio believes that probably this is the doing of Astro. And then eventually, when, like, seeing certain shapes where, yeah, it makes the shape of Astro's whale body, that, yeah, he did a bit of some destruction to the city. And also, yeah, for Nerdle still investigating more on the atomic activity, well, by at one point making their way into underground caves, and with what they discover, like there's like a beacon or something, yeah. And, well, there's also some more animals that are on Mars, which apparently turns out that the Martians have captured some animals from Earth, and by doing experiments on them. And, well, by feeding them something that would, of course, make them grow large and be, dangerous, just like what we saw with those two sand crabs. And some of those giant, mutant animals, some of them going after Nerdle and Pinocchio, up to when, like, say, yeah, there's an earthquake that happens, and, well, Astro's nearby. But, yeah, just overall, because an earthquake happens, a sandstorm hits, Nerdle and Pinocchio, they make their way out of there, they get back in their ship, and, Nerdle's ship, I should say, and, yeah, they manage to make it out just right before a nuclear explosion happens because of the atomic activities that were below the city, and because of the sandstorm, the earthquake, that caused the city to blow up, and seeing a mushroom cloud just... Yeah, who'd have thought we would see something like that in Pinocchio, right? Because, well, if a giant, menacing whale isn't enough, then I don't know what. Just, if that's not the only thing that's intense for Pinocchio, for something Pinocchio, especially the Disney's Pinocchio. Anyways, yeah, so after that, well, because, yeah, they would encounter Astro, and, well, because, with them getting chased by Astro some eventually because ultimately Astro does swallow them, and they are stuck inside of Astro, no way of knowing how to get out. And the Blue Fairy materializing, and Pinocchio trying to explain to the Blue Fairy, but yeah, he's lying to the Blue Fairy, and up to when, he gives in, he gets a bit upset. And unbeknownst to Nerdle has no idea that the Blue Fairy is present. So, yeah, technically Pinocchio is the only one that's seen the Blue Fairy. With some encouragement from the Blue Fairy, this gives Pinocchio an idea, knowing how to get out of Astro through its blowhole. Yeah, so that's what happens. And with the help of Nerdle, and yeah, because ultimately, and with the Blue Fairy helping out Pinocchio some and Nerdle, well, Nerdle and Pinocchio making their way out through the blowhole, and, well, this leads to Astro chasing them once again, and, yeah. But because their damage is just about damaged, well, at one point Pinocchio was going to try and hypnotize Astro. I almost said Monstro. Well, like I said earlier, Astro almost sharing the exact identical name as Monstro's. Yeah. Anyways, so Pinocchio trying to hypnotize Astro, it's not working. However, what does hypnotize Astro is the movement of the ship. Just, yeah, that hypnotizes Astro, and yeah, he's conked out, and, well, because of this, and them discovering it was because of the ship, they guide Astro back to Earth, and they're on, and, well, even at one point, some on Earth, actually did see what was happening. Like a scientist was seeing what was going on, and seeing through like a telescope that, yeah, because Astro is making its way, and already the news headlines emerge with, yeah, Nerdle and Pinocchio having brought in Astro, but they're still in space by this point. And when coming back to Geppetto, by this point, yeah, worried that Pinocchio has not come back, and yeah, of course, him being totally unaware that, you know, his boy has been up in space and never went to school. But with what's been going on up to this point with Pinocchio and Nerdle, yeah, something good that Pinocchio's been doing. What happens next is, well, you know, with them having captured Astro, well, because with re-entry, because re-entry for them not looking good, and they might crash, and that also goes for Astro, that he might crash onto some people, or maybe possibly Pinocchio's father's toy shop. Just, they got to do something. So Pinocchio, taking it upon himself, and because, yeah, he's perfectly okay out in space, grabbing an anchor and attaching the anchor to hold on to Astro to balance him and such. And because with Astro flying through space, there's like some like rocket and such like coming through, I guess like his like a part of his body, you know, the blowhole or something. And yeah, this, with what Pinocchio heroically does, this does cause him to be very injured, and yeah. So that happens to Pinocchio, but at the same time, Pinocchio did become a hero, stopping Astro by not having Astro, even though Astro was the enemy. He didn't want Astro to be killed, and he saved Astro, and also saving the civilians on Earth. So yeah, and after that, well, coming back to Geppetto's house, and yeah, well, obviously by this point, Nerdle has brought back Pinocchio to Geppetto, and well, they presume that he's dead, like before, and he's in his bed and with some flowers, all of them mourning the loss of Pinocchio, and this especially hits Nerdle hard, yeah. However, the Blue Fairy emerging and turning Pinocchio back into a real boy and waking him up, and yeah, all is good. Pinocchio's alright, and he's back as a real boy. And the aftermath of this, well, there's a celebration at a fair, yeah, because with the capturing of Astro, but also, yeah, Nerdle disembarking back to his home planet and, you know, bringing in the reports and what he had encountered along with Pinocchio, just, yeah, and Nerdle and Pinocchio and Geppetto saying their goodbyes, and, yeah. And so, yeah, with Nerdle launching into space, we see the Blue Fairy back with her mother, and, yeah, and also the prologue narrator number 2, I presume for the end of the film, yeah, Brett Morris, being voiced by Brett Morrison, you know, saying that this isn't the end for Pinocchio, because yeah, it, like, you know, even though it says the end, it's not really the end, so even though there was nothing else after this, just, you know, and with how it was put in this, just, you know, you get my point. Yeah, just, again, Pinocchio in outer space, it's very interesting. Something that you would never expect would exist, but it does. With what Pinocchio in outer space has to offer from beginning to end, its storyline, its cast of characters, new characters that are in this Pinocchio tale, like, you know, most notably Nerdle the Turtle, Astro, and the space, you know, creatures, you know, the animals that are giant mutants on Mars, and, you know, with how these characters are portrayed, seeing the Blue Fairy's mother, the animation quality to this, the music, the songs, you know, and things that the entirety of the movie, you just were not expecting, and what was going to go down in this, just, yeah, it's bizarre. But at the same time, it's harmless, it's innocent, it's not, there's nothing really bad about this. It's enjoyable, yeah, overall, Pinocchio in outer space, well, it is what it is, and it exists. And I'm giving Pinocchio in outer space, well, why not? 6 out of 10 stars, yes. 6 out of 10 stars for Pinocchio in outer space. Again, There's nothing really bad about it. It's okay for what it is, but still, it's very strange that we have this, and yeah, Pinocchio in outer space. Who'd have thought? And what about you guys? What did you think of Pinocchio in outer space itself? Any of you that heard about this before, you've seen it, and if you're pretty much on the same page too, where, gee, what is this? Just, yeah, but maybe at the same time, when you watched it, you liked it and enjoyed it? Just, yeah. Do you have any favorite songs, by any chance? What, just overall, literally, what more do I have to say? What do you think of Pinocchio in outer space itself? And with what I've had to say, my review, and yeah, what did you think of my review? Leave comments and give this review video a like, as always. And so, with all that being said, thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed my review of Pinocchio in Outer Space. More review videos are coming your way. They're going to be awesome. Keep looking forward. And I will see you guys in the next video / review. Take care. Happy anniversary to Pinocchio in Outer Space. And peace out.